Second calculus final video, we will be finding the limit of each of the points on the graph in front of us, and I will be explaining how we get the answers. Each problem we will be working with will be either of x or x. So we will be looking for each answer by using the x-axis. For the first problem, we are looking for f of -1. Since it's f of -1, we are looking for an exact point rather than a limit. So find -1 on the x-axis. Notice how there are 3 circles on -1. Since this problem is an exact point, we don't use the open circles with the lines. We'll use those later when finding the limit. We need the closed circle, which lies on the x-axis. So since it lies on the x-axis, f of -1 is equal to 0. Next is the limit of f of x as x approaches -4. It doesn't state a certain side, so we need to find the limit of each side of -4. So we find -4 on the x-axis. This one seems to be lying on the y-axis at -1. But we don't use that answer yet. First we need to see what it's approaching on the left. Here the limit of the left is approaching -1. See the lines coming up to -1. And so it's approaching -1. Now we need to make sure that it's approaching it from the right. So from that same point, from the right, the line is approaching -1. Since both sides of the limit agree, the limit of f of x as x approaches -4 is -1. The next problem is a bit tricky. We used the closed circle to find f of -1, but now we need the limits, so we'll use the open circles. So we'll be doing the same thing that we just did with the point on -4, except this time the circles only have one line approaching them. The reason why they're open is because they have different limits coming from each side. So the limit approaching -1 from the left is 1 because it's on the y-axis at 1. But the limit approaching -1 from the right is on -1, which is on the y-axis. So since these don't agree, the limit of f of the limit as x approaches -1 does not exist. The next problem is the limit of f of x as x approaches 1 from the left. So we'll find 1 on the x-axis. Notice there's more than one point again. But since we're approaching from the left, we'll use the point that has a line coming from the left. So the limit approaching -1 from the left is approaching on -2, which is on the y-axis. And since it's only looking for the limit of the left side, the answer is -2. The next problem is asking of the limit of f of x as x approaches 1 from the right. So now we'll use the point up here because it has a line approaching to the right. And the line approaches at the point 1 because it's on the y-axis at 1. Each of these points has a limit coming from either side. But since they have different numbers for each of the limits, it does not exist because this side approaches at 1 and this side approaches at -2. But since they don't agree or have the same limit from either side, it just doesn't exist. So the next problem is the limit of f of x as x approaches -3. So we'll find -3, which is right here. Notice how the line goes all the way through, and so the limit from the right side is 0 because it ends on the point 0. And the limit coming from the left is also 0. So since both sides of the limit have both sides of the point have a limit of 0. The limit as x approaches -3 is 0. Now the final problem we have is the limit of f of x as x approaches 2, which is right here. Notice that there's 2 circles, but since we're not looking at f of 2, we don't use the closed circle, we'll use the open one. So first, we find the limit of 2 as x approaches from the left side, which would be 2, because the point is on the y-axis at 2. Now, from the right side, the line approaches 2 again. And since both sides, both limits from either side of the point equal 2, the limit of f of x is 2. That was kind of difficult to explain.